Oi, oi, guys, welcome back to another Budget Guitar Show. Now, today, grab your guitars, because today, a master guitarist teaches me and you all a lesson.
Here's Johnny!
Yes, guys and girls, make sure you've got your guitars at the ready, because in this episode you are going to learn something. Now, before Christmas, I was contacted by the legend that is John Robson. I'm sure many of you out there will know exactly who John Robson is, but if you don't, there is a link down below in the description to his YouTube channel. He is a master guitarist and also a guitar teacher, and he offered me the chance to be taught by him to see what his lessons are really like. Now, I chose to know the basics of solo guitar, playing those lead solos and what you need to do. So, John very graciously decided to teach me a lesson. And if you want to follow along, it's all here. One little caveat to this is the fact the guitar I was using did have a bit of a dodgy pickup, so you will be able to see my punk rock way of fixing this. Anyway, here's the lesson. Enjoy.
Getting into a bit of lead guitar playing. It's, I'm afraid, all about the S word, scales. Okay? People say you don't need scales. And I've had encountered this quite a bit over the years. Oh, you don't need to learn scales. Well, how do you play a lead guitar? Well, you use this little pattern here. Well, that's a scale. So, I'm going to show you two shapes and how to use them. That is basically the upshot of today, and they're easy to remember as well. So I'll be putting some diagrams up on screen as we go through, but what I'm going to do here is just use the zoom function on this camera.
Yep.
And here's your first note, 6th string, 3rd fret. And then your next note is simply same string but 2 frets higher. Okay, so play that with like either your 3rd or 4th finger. I haven't got a working 3rd finger at the moment, so I'm using my 4th finger. And then what you need to do is slide that note up 2 frets, so you get that. And you know,
I think my guitar's a bit, hang on.
the punk rock fix. There we go.
Okay.
And then we move on to the next string and just play the 5th and 7th frets. So what we've done there is we played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes. That is a pentatonic, as in 5-note scale. And what I'm going to do now is put some diagrams up on screen.
Okay.
I just need to share my screen with you. And you should be seeing that round about now.
Yeah, I've got that.
That is the pattern that you just played. Right?
Okay.
What we're going to do now is repeat that pattern in the next octave, and that will look like that. You can see that where your first finger has been on the previous string, you can just drop it down onto the next string, the 4th string, and play the same run again. So we'll take that down for the moment, and I'll come back and show you. So you've just done this. So now your first finger goes to there, and you do the same run again. Like that, and then I'll do that with my 2nd finger so you can see. So.
I think that's right, isn't it?
So you want to be going 5, 7, 9, on the 4th string, and then 7, 9 on the 3rd string. So we get, if we run those two together, we get like that. Perfect, perfect. You got it. Right, there's one more. There's one more. Let's have a look at what goes on with that. So we'll go back to the diagrams. Okay, so we've done that one, we've done that one. We'll run them both together. The next one is that. Now, instinctively, you'll want to put your first finger there.
Yeah.
You've got to step it up a fret to allow for that kind of tuning discrepancy that occurs between the 3rd and 4th strings. So I'll come back and show you. So you've ended up with maybe your 3rd or 4th finger there. I'm using my 2nd. Okay, so you don't go there, you go there. So use the fret markers to guide you, basically. And once you're there, you just do the same run again. So it's like that. Perfect, mate. You got it. Okay. Right. So let's come back to you now. So your first job is to get that. So you can just walk through it. A good test is if you can do what I'm doing now, which is, you know, you don't have to kind of think about, you know, looking at the neck or not looking at the neck, but what I am doing now is having a conversation with you and still able to kind of walk through the scale.
Yeah.
If it's taking all of your concentration to just remember where your fingers have got to go to, then you've got no concentration left for thinking about licks and what you're going to do with the scale, right? Yeah. The other thing I would say is it's important that you'll be surprised, you'll be amazed how many people can do this, but then can't do. They find themselves doing the slide on wrong strings and stuff. So what goes up must come down, okay? And right, so that's one of the shapes, and we're going to look at what's going on there in terms of where you can use this, but obviously it's transposable all around the neck. You can just kind of change the starting fret, but all the moves remain the same relative to each other. Okay. So let's go back to our little set of diagrams. Here we go. So we've just done those. Now let's do another shape, and this one's going to be starting, as you can see, if you count it up, at the 10th fret. Okay. And the 5 notes in the run that we've just done, which is all in grey there, so you had 3 notes on one string and then 2 notes on the next. This is the opposite way around. This is 2 notes on one string, then 3 notes on the next. So if we start at the 10th fret, okay, then we're going to be playing 10 and 12 on the 6th string. And then 10, 12, and slide up to 14 on the 5th string. So you, if you do it right, it should sound like that old Don McLean song. That's it. It should sound like the Starry, Starry Night, you know, that old Don McLean song. And once again, what we do is, after you've played that run there, then it repeats in exactly the same way as it did in the previous one. So now we're going to go 12 and 14 on the 4th string, 12 and 14 on the 3rd string, and then slide up to 16. And then one more repeat, and we've got that same little kind of step up that we had to do in the previous kind of one lower down the neck, where we have to go up. So again, use the fret marker to help you. You've got to get onto the 15th fret there. So that's the marker where there's the fret where there's the marker. And once you're there, you just do exactly the same thing again. And then move it up.
Yep, I think
this is possibly the highest up the neck you've been, is it, in a while?
Yeah.
So let me zoom in so you can see where I'm going.
Yep.
So there you're looking for the first kind of fret dot after the octave, and you're going. And once again, with a little bit of practice, you can run all of that together. And don't forget, what goes up must come down. And so we've now got two runs, which I'll kind of... Then... Covering a lot of neck there. You've got a lot of...
Yeah.
You've got a big playground to work in. Now, that solo that I played over, that riff that I stole from you, was just entirely contained within those two runs there. Okay?
Right, okay.
You'll notice in the solo that there are a few string bends, so which you can't just bend a string and hope for the best, okay? Because when you're bending a string, you're actually changing the pitch of the note, okay? And you've got to make sure that the note that you're going to, by changing the pitch of the note, is a note that's actually going to work. It's a right note in the scale. The easy way to find within the context of this little kind of selection of that we've got here, the easy way to find where the string bends are is they are wherever the slides are. So you could go like that and slide up to that note, or you can go and you can bend that note. Okay, when you're string bending, okay, always bend towards the center of the neck. So these three strings, the fourth, fifth, and sixth, pull down, and like that, and that's a good thing to do there, is to make sure you're getting the pitch right. So go like this, and then compare it with your bend to get them the same. Like that, okay? That's where your string bends live, okay? And then we've got the bend here, where that note there slides up, so we can...
Yeah.
Bending technique, ideally, use your third finger backed up with your other two fingers, but, you know, my recent injury means I'm having to kind of adapt and use my second finger. But never just try and bend with a single finger. Always have at least one behind it to kind of just give it the push.
Yeah.
And then the same thing works in these two, in this run here. So I've got the slide there on that note. I can bend it. You know, and something, once you start doing kind of bends up this end of the neck, you can just kind of wail away on that for, you know, an entire bar or so. you know, Paul Kossoff springs to mind, you
Yeah.
know. So those are the shapes. Any questions?
Not at the moment, no.
Right. Okay. Now we need to. We've done the S word, the scales. We now need to tackle the dreaded T word, the theory. Okay.
Right.
Now, every pentatonic scale, and that's what we've been dealing with here. All of that is the same scale, just different ways of playing it on the neck. Every
Yeah.
pentatonic scale has like a split personality. It's major and it's minor. Okay. Everything in music, anything that you can attach the word major to, major chord, major scale, major key, major pentatonic, always has a relevant or relative minor. Okay, it's a fundamental one of the fundamental bedrocks of music theory. Okay, and what is that relationship? Well, quite simply, I'll show you. Okay, another way that you can play a pentatonic scale, and I avoided going into this one in this lesson because I just wanted to keep it focused. But another way you can do it is, you know, and I remember learning the old Johnny Kidd and the Pirates thing on this when I was. It's just that, and that has a very strong E minor feel to it.
Yeah.
Another one that has a very strong E minor feel to it is the old Free song, Wishing Well. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, and that's coming out with the same shape. Then, one Christmas season, when I was about 12 or 13, have you ever done this kind of thing where you just pick up a guitar and you start noodling and something familiar drops out? I didn't know I knew that, right? Well, one thing that did that for me was this. Oh. That sounds familiar. Auld Lang Syne. Okay, yeah. Right. So, and it's using this magical group of E minor notes that I knew were kind of in all loads of songs that are in E minor. Try as I might, I couldn't make Auld Lang Syne sound good, kind of doing anything in da 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 da. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
But it did work if I went to a G. Da 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 da. Da, 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 da. Right?
Yeah.
Puzzled it puzzled me, basically. I was going to use a swear word then I realised that this is going up on YouTube. It puzzled me. So I spoke to me music teacher at school who was, you know, he was an adult, but he was kind of fresh out of university. There wasn't much of an age gap. Anyway, so I asked him about this. Why do these notes sound good in both E minor and G major? And he explained it's because of that there is this thing called a relative minor and a relative major. So that's your relationship there, right? Mm-hmm. E minor, G major. If you look at that in terms of how you would play it with bar chords, so there's a G as a bar chord.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's your G major, that's your major one. And then what do we do to get to E minor? 1, 2, 3 frets down and make it minor. That relationship there is fixed. So if I wanted to do A major, right, I know that's the same as F sharp minor. Okay? If I did C major, it's the same as A minor. Okay, that is the fixed relationship. And why did I play your over your little riff in E minor then? Well, because it's in E minor. How do we know that? Well, let's look at what we've got. That's the chord there that gives it away, right? It's obviously got a very strong E feel to it. But is that E major or E minor? Well, it's neither. It's just a power chord. If you look at there's an E major chord. There's an E minor chord. Yeah? There's only one note that changes. Okay? In E minor, you've got a G note. In E major, it goes to a G sharp. So you've got this G power chord in here, coupled with the overall sort of tonality, as we call it, of E. That G there, you know, an E and a G note start to suggest E minor. So I played E minor pentatonic, which is the same thing as a G major pentatonic, in this pattern and this pattern, over the entirety of that backing track, which I think I've sent you already, but you know.
Yeah.
So what you then do is you can then sort of transpose this into other keys. So, you know, this is just a question of counting up and down frets. So if you had something in A minor, okay, well, you know that the E minor one, this isn't the root note of the E minor. This is just the note where it starts. It's a mistake a lot of people think, is that the scale has to start on its root note. Don't. You can use any note in the scale as a reference point. Okay, so if I wanted to play something in A minor, I'll chuck an A minor backing track on in a moment. Okay, all I've got to think is, okay, how far away from E minor is A minor? And then you count up, well, one fret up from E is F,
Yeah.
then F sharp, then G sharp, then A. So that's 5 frets. So if I take this shape here and move it up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets, I've now got the same shape, the same moves relative to each other. It's now starting here. So let me just dig out an A minor backing track. Here we go. This one will do. And sort of volume. Back that off a little bit. Right. So using that same shape there, I'm just going to walk up and down the scale. I might have a little bit of a noodle in a moment. Let's zoom in so you can see. Right. Here we go. Works. That works. Okay,
Yeah,
there wasn't a note that sounded sour or wrong there. So now what I can do is just start noodling around. It makes itself. All you got to do is remember not to play a scale. So when you play a scale, you're going all the notes in sequential order, all lasting the same amount of time and no gaps in between them. If you start kind of jumbling up the order a little bit, leaving a few gaps and kind of having longer and shorter notes, then it's going to start sounding more like a piece of music than a solo, than a scale rather. Literally, I thought my G strings a little bit out of tune, but hey,
yeah,
rock and roll. You know, but all you got to start doing is kind of jumbling up the order of the notes a bit. You know, maybe you saw me there, kind of going, repeating a note just to kind of emphasize it. None of those things are things that you ordinarily do when you're just doing scale practice, learning shapes, okay?
Yeah.
So if you start doing those things, leaving gaps, repeating notes, jumbling the order of the notes up a little bit, immediately it's going to start sounding more like licks than just playing a scale.
Yeah.
And as you progress, you'll start, it's trial and error. Okay, you'll start noticing that certain little combinations of moves that you're doing within those patterns will sound good. So just mentally kind of remember those, or write them down, or make some note of them, and you're starting to build your own vocabulary of licks. You'll then start hearing guitar solos, and as you get more familiar with what these moves are, you'll start thinking, I know what you're doing. Right, I can hear those moves that I've practiced because the sound of them becomes so familiar to you. And, that's when you figure out a solo or figure out licks and stuff like that, this kind of helps make sense of it.
Yeah.
So that's lead guitar. Does that make sense?
It does, actually. I mean, just like looking at those scales, that's seeing you do it, that's opened it up for me, because I could sit here and I could sort of do something like that, go, and after that I'd be like, right, what do I do after that? Yeah. And then I'd fall back into the way I normally do things, is just by going on the strings underneath. And I'd be stuck there. I would not be able to sort of go up the dusty end, as you call it, and do all of that. So now knowing how they go, I can watch the video back and learn with it. But it's that's opened it up. So now I know.
I've done you the tab of the solo. You okay reading the tab now? You got that sort of squared away?
Yeah.
Right. So start taking a look at some of the little moves that I'm doing in that solo. Steal as many of them as you want, because that's all I did to bloody get them. I didn't invent any of those licks. Those are all things that I stole from Jimmy Page and Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck and all of the people that sort of, Chuck Berry as well, people that taught me to play the guitar indirectly. Nick them, work them into your own solos. Start thinking, okay, I want to play that lick, but I don't want. What happens if I want to play it in A minor? Well, there's an entire YouTube out there of guitar backing tracks. Just dial in A minor punk or A minor rock or whatever you want backing track. Do that sort of counting up and down the neck thing to figure out how many frets you've got to move that shape or that lick or whatever, and give it a go. It just, you'll lose entire days just kind of wrapped up in this. It's such a rewarding and kind of entertaining thing to do. Once you kind of start pulling at the thread, it's it just you then start thinking about, okay, maybe I need to record some of this, and you start then getting into home recording as I did in the 90s, and what else can I do? Are there any other notes I can throw in? And then, well, for me, that's what turned me into a bit of a theory geek, because I'd stumble across something that I didn't intend to do, but it kind of worked. And well, why did that work? And I'd have to find an explanation. So I think that's probably enough for you to be chewing on for the moment, Johnny. I'm going to be straight onto that now.
I should be straight onto that now and start working away.
Nice one. Well, if you have any problems, give us a shout, and I'll see what I genuinely, I mean that. If there's something that made sense today, but the day after tomorrow you think, well, I kind of got it at the time, but I'm not sure now, then give us a shout.
Excellent. I will do. Thank you very much, mate.
Okay, doke, Johnny. Right, I'll let you crack on, mate.
All right, brilliant stuff. Take care.
Take care now. Take care, mate. Bye bye.
Of course, a huge thank you to John Robson for spending some time with me and teaching me that. I've been practicing it and I still am. And I hope you guys out there are also going to be practicing it too. Don't forget, there is a link down below to John's channel, and if you wish to book some lessons with him yourself, all the info is on his channel. If you've enjoyed this video or you found it helpful, why not give it a thumbs up, as that really does help this channel to grow. If you're new here, why not subscribe? I'd be glad to have you. I will be back with some more content very soon. Thanks to our budget backers, and thanks to you for watching. It just remains for me to say, stay safe, stay sane, but do keep rocking.